Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you. Okay, so the latest talk about James Harden going to the Nets and all of that. The last thing I've heard about that situation was that the Rockets are considering their options and are trying to repair the relationship between themselves and James Harden. I'm looking at that and I'm saying maybe a little too late there, maybe a little too late. But the best option that they have is to try to pull a Milwaukee and try to get somebody there that will help them win right now. Trade Russell Westbrook for a high impact player. That's what they have to do if they're interested in repaying that relationship. Excuse me. I don't think it works. I don't think it'll be enough. No matter who the name will be, I think he wants out. It's sort of like when the Pelicans got the number one pick in the draft. No, that was not going to keep Anthony Davis there. That wasn't going to make him change his mind. No, I think James Harden has his mind made up. He wants out of there. You turn down $50 million a year, you're gone. You've already mentally checked out. He's probably wanted to be out of there for a while, and from what I understand, there's a couple reasons why he wants out of there. It's not just the basketball fit. So if that's the case, then there will be no repairing of the relationship. And the Rockets need to move forward. And I think the thing that the Rockets need to do, if that's the case, is to basically trade Russell Westbrook. You need to trade Russell Westbrook. You don't need to be thinking about James Harden right now. Why? Because you have all the leverage with James Harden. Now it's just about strategizing your future post Westbrook and Harden. You could care less about what the Nets are saying. They're knocking on the door. You let them in when you're ready. You know what I'm saying? It's that's really what goes on with the Rockets at this point. You have all the leverage with Harden. Don't even think about Harden. If I'm a GM of the Rockets, I'm literally not thinking about Harden. This is all about getting picks for Westbrook. And I'm gonna be patient even with that. I'm gonna wait for the right deal if I can. It would be ideal if they can get him off the books tonight before the draft. Don't get it twisted. I'm sure they would love to do that. But those contracts are awful. You want to make sure you get the right haul back because you know for a fact it's rebuild time. So why expedite that just because pressures are coming from this way and that way? Who cares? No, you need to be thinking about your future, literally, right now. Right now, that is all you need to be thinking about if you're the Rockets. So at this point, I really do believe that Russell Westbrook to the Knicks, if you get the right couple of pieces from the Knicks, you can find some guys with trade value. I'm definitely going to ask for R.J. Barrett. I'm going to ask for Julius Randle's contract. And I'm going to ask for Robinson. And I'm probably not going to get that. But that's what I'm asking for. And of course, picks. I want picks. I'm going to hike that price up for Russell Westbrook because it seems like Michael Jordan also wants in on that deal. He does have the number 3 pick, which could look really, 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 really intriguing to me if I'm the Rockets. But to be honest with you, there's no way in hell if I'm Michael Jordan I would even consider attaching some massive contract or rather a bunch of players together plus a bunch of my picks just to bring in an old Russell Westbrook. That would be the worst decision Mike has ever made. Worse than all the draft picks that he made, worse than all that stuff. This would be the worst thing because it would cripple him. We know that Russell Westbrook's not going to do anything for him. He's getting him on the tail end of his career, just like he got Tony Parker at the tail end of his career. That's like banking on Tony Parker in some ways. No, you don't want to do that. Russell Westbrook is not done per se, but as it pertains to him being a fit, you have to look at it like this. It's going to take you some time to build the team that you need to build around Russell Westbrook to be that good to make this worth it. It's going to take time, and that's time he doesn't have because he's in his 30s. By the time you get the team that's really, really good for what it is that he can bring to the table, he won't be able to bring that to the table anymore. So it's like, why do you make this move if you're him at all? But, you know, he wants a superstar. He's in a small market. He hasn't had a whole lot of success. It hasn't, you know, it's not a whole lot to celebrate out there in Charlotte. And they have this number 3 pick. Maybe they can pair that number 3 pick with Russell Westbrook, and they can have an exciting dynamic, a little 1-2 punch if they can somehow land someone like Ball, or if they can land, a Wiseman or a Kongwu or one of those young players. If Charlotte's able to get one of those guys, I think Ball and Westbrook would not work. I don't like that, but assuming they don't trade the pick. and they keep it and then do trade for Russell Westbrook, I think Wiseman and Westbrook could kind of be a nice big man, small guy back and forth. I think it could, it doesn't work, but then you look at what they already have. You got Graham down there, he's exciting. You got Washington in place, he's exciting. So that gives them a nice little core, you know. Maybe you do something with Malik Monk. Obviously, you got Bridges, who's jumping out the gym. You're really excited about him at the 3 spot. So it's a lot of things that could work there if you pick Wiseman, if he falls to you. I think they could use a center. I don't think they have anybody of prestige at the center spot right now. Nothing they're super excited about. So Wiseman would be that franchise cornerstone center for the Charlotte Hornets. So I like that for them. I don't know that he falls there. It's a very, very good chance Golden State takes him. But if for some reason he does, that wouldn't be bad at all. That would not be bad at all. So yeah, and then you can look at maybe making a Russell Westbrook trade, or what you have with Russell Westbrook. Now that's the thing. What do they have to give up in order to get him? Well, I'd imagine they probably would want some of those guys I just named. I don't really have a good look at what Charlotte's full depth chart is. I know they still got Malik Monk down there. Maybe they'd be wise to let him go. He hasn't really turned into what they thought he would, but he could still be a shooter in this league at some point. Maybe the Rockets want him. Obviously, Charlotte has picks in the future. I know the Rockets are going to want those. Maybe you pile those on for some reason. I don't know. But if you're considering bringing on Russell Westbrook, you understand that it's going to be a salary exchange situation. So a third team probably gets involved. Maybe they throw in players that help you out in that situation. You get creative. So they have a GM that I know will get a great deal going for himself, because we had him and we won championships with him. Mitch Kupchak is really good at what he does. He's made some decisions that I didn't like with some of the back of the bench players, like your bench, when he's looking at guys that are not really that good, putting them on the roster and things like that. I didn't like the decisions that he made with those players. But the starting lineups, yeah, he always made sure our starting lineups were cohesive and complemented our stars. And that's ultimately what you wanted. You know, he was able to make that Pau Gasol trade happen. Just a lot of great stuff we saw him do. Draft Andrew Bynum. We really appreciated that. Bynum had a great start to his career and even made an all-star team. So, you know, there were some things that Mitch Kupchak did that you would appreciate, and I trust him when it comes to having pretty high picks. I think he'll do a good job with that, and trades, he's done some really good things as well. So Charlotte's in good hands if they can, just kind of maneuver through some of the stuff that they have, shuffle through some of the players that they have. I would not give up Graham. No. And if I'm the Hornets, if I'm the Rockets, I would definitely ask for Graham. In any trade for Russell Westbrook, you got to give me. If I'm the Rockets, that's another thing. If I'm the Rockets, let's say this: the Rockets should ask for Graham, the Rockets should ask for Bridges, and they should ask for Washington. Now they're not going to get all 3 of those guys, but I think they should ask for all 3 of those guys. Just a passing thought, because I'm telling you right now, if James Harden isn't able to leave the Rockets this season, I do think if they're able to get all 3 of those Charlotte guys, that team will be all right. They're not going to be a playoff team, but they'll be in the mix to fight for a playoff spot, and he can still put up James Harden numbers, be an MVP candidate, maybe even drag that team to the playoffs, to be honest with you. I don't think that team would suck. PJ Washington is pretty good. Like, he really is. That kid is good. Bridges is starting to come into his own. Even though he's inconsistent, he is a superior athlete. He can jump out of the gym, and he's not shy. He can work on his game a little bit. He reminds me a little bit of a poor man's Tobias Harris at this point. But he can grow into something a little better than that if he continues to work on his game. It may be a lot better than that even. So I'm interested in seeing what Bridges can turn into. There's some guys on that team. You know, Graham is already probably the breakout player of last year. Really. I mean, he's a shooter extraordinaire. He's not bashful. He can score at a high clip. He can assist at a high clip as well. And he's somebody you definitely value in this league. So secretly, Charlotte has been putting together some things that I would be pretty excited about if I were their fans. I think taking on Russell Westbrook for the wrong price could be crippling and a step in the wrong direction. And to be honest with you, if the more I think about the Charlotte Hornets, I think they should just stand pat, see who falls to them, and just take the pick. The more I think about their situation, because they do have a young core, and there is someone in that, top 5 that would fit their roster and continue their trajectory. I don't think they need to bring on some gimmicky bull crap with Russell Westbrook. That's just not the move. I know it's a Jordan brand thing. I know they could use the revenue that maybe a Hall of Famer would bring, but I just think bringing on Russell Westbrook and his style of play may be a step backwards. Now, on the other end, hear me out on this. If Russell Westbrook plays well and they have the right system around him in Charlotte, PJ can shoot. Of course, Graham can shoot. Monk can shoot. Whoever they draft, if they were able to keep that draft pick, I would assume they'd want to pick up somebody who's capable of hitting a 3, even though none of those guys are really 3-point shooters in that top range there. Ball is an excellent scorer. He can shoot the 3, obviously, but you don't want him shooting off the ball. You definitely put the ball in his hands if you draft him. And Westbrook, he would have the ball in his hands, so that doesn't work. So, Edwards not a shooter. Wiseman can shoot, but he hasn't developed the 3 like that yet, from what I understand. Halliburton is a point guard. Again, can't hold the ball and not have the ball at the same time. If you're a point guard and you need the ball, you need it, is what I'm trying to say. He would need it. So it's like, him and Westbrook don't fit. This is a situation where I'm saying, well, you just got to do what you got to do in regards to considering what to do with that pick. Maybe you trade it. Maybe you trade down for somebody who can't shoot if that's what you want to do. But the point is, Russell Westbrook, the pick, and those players, that's not a bad team if they're able to retain the players that they have and have Russell Westbrook on that squad. Just like I think Harden would be able to drag them to the playoffs, possibly in the West. I think Westbrook at his best probably could drag the Hornets close to a playoff spot. I think they'll hover around that 9-10 space. And I think that's a step forward for them in terms of wins, being that I think they only won like 26 games or something like that last year. So the Hornets, even though I don't watch a whole lot of them, I have to excuse myself and say I'm ignorant. I am somewhat unaware of their roster, and they do have some things over there that are intriguing if you want to make a trade with them. But if they were able to retain those things and get the right player, they could maybe be a playoff team. So, optimistic times. My issue with the Hornets has always been their decision making. That was always my thing. Michael's decision making and his people's decision making draft night, particularly, just was never ever any good. Like literally never any good. But they've changed that over the last couple of years, and I expect them to make a good decision this evening. I don't know how many picks they have, but I think they're gonna have a good draft night. Could potentially, depending on their pick situation and if they keep it. So, that's what I got. Obviously, the other team on this situation is the Knicks. Them taking on Russell Westbrook is laughable, to be honest with you. It's just laughable. I don't know what the Knicks are doing. Like I said, I like Juju. I like Randall. Knox has not turned into anything, and I blame the Knicks for that. Ntilikina hasn't turned into anything. I blame the Knicks for that. Like, the players that they have could be better if they were better. I don't blame these kids for not developing in that Knicks system. The Knicks don't have a system. They're just running around. And it's bad, and it's been bad, and it's probably going to stay bad. Bringing in Russell Westbrook is going to be bad, and that's going to be the end of that. The Brooklyn Nets have effectively snatched the city, and that's the end of the conversation for them. Anyway, my name is BDF44, and I'm out.